Volkswagen literally means the people's car, and we all know how the Beetle revolutionized the world of motoring back in the day. They made 21.5 million of those things, and its popularity in some circles is nearly unmatched. And what every company needs to do is make a people's car. A car for the people, a car for what's current. And now in India, if you look around on the streets, everybody drives a hatchback. That's what everybody owns. And what everybody wants to upgrade to is a conventional large sedan. But in India, we have the advantage of having a government that tells us how to make our cars, and thus we have something in between. The compact sedan is becoming the fastest growing and the most popular segment for Indian audiences for a while now. And there is something for everybody at every price point. But what if you are a little more discerning? What if you want a premium badge? There was nothing in the segment so far that really gave you exactly that. Now though, Volkswagen has heard the pleas of all the Indian customers and has given us this, the brand new Volkswagen Ameo compact sedan. Most of you will look at the Ameo and think of it as a Polo with a small boot, but this is a Volkswagen and there are bound to be a few differences. The front bumper is tucked in by 35mm, which gave Volkswagen a little more space to play around with at the rear. You also get a few sporty additions on the side of the bumper that make it look slightly wider. Apart from that, the grille, the front fender and the bonnet are exactly the same as the Polo, and so are the well-styled double-barrel headlamps. The side profile of course is different, but the seat pillows flow really well into the boot lid, and the Ameo certainly has one of the best balanced designs that we have seen in the sub 4 meter sedan segment. Now the boot itself is quite stubby, but being a sub 4 meter sedan, Volkswagen really did not have that much room to play with. The boot lid, however, does look quite flat at first glance, but come closer and you see a lot of angles and nice curves. The most disappointing thing about the Ameo in terms of design though are these flat tail lamps. A bit more contouring could have really made the Ameo look a lot more better and the rear a lot more active. The Ameo shares the dashboard with the Polo, and you get a smart and simple center console that is finished in a shade of brushed aluminum with rectangular air vents. The infotainment system is a double-din touchscreen setup, and the touchscreen is one of the most responsive and best we've seen in the segment so far. The player itself has features like a USB connection and Bluetooth, but also has Volkswagen's MirrorLink app, which can be used for Android smartphones. Other highlights include a climate control system, a much-needed central armrest, and a flat-bottom steering wheel. Now the Ameo is more spacious than the Polo, mainly because the front seats have been scooped out to give you more leg space. And even though the roof is 15mm lower than the Polo and the Vento, it still feels quite comfortable, and even for a taller guy, there's enough headspace. Now I would have loved if Volkswagen would have offered a central armrest in the seat right here, but on the positive side, you do get rear AC vents, and that, in a country like India where it's really hot all the time, is a big boon. Now most people who have sub 4 meter sedans prefer to be chauffeur driven. The Ameo though is the kind of car that you would want to drive yourself. And now Abhay has been driving me around for the last few minutes, so I'm going to ask Abhay how he feels about front seat comfort.
Yeah, I quite like the comfort of the front seat in the Ameo. The cushioning is slightly firm, but it provides good support at all times.
Now Volkswagen has only launched the 1.2 litre petrol, the 3-cylinder engine that you also get in the Polo in the Ameo as well. And that's exactly the one we have here today. Now you get 75 PS of peak power and 110 Newton meters of peak torque. And honestly, with those kind of figures, you can't expect it to wow you with neck-snapping acceleration. But what is uncanny is the kind of noise it makes. It's quite loud for a petrol, and that's not very appealing. There's also the fact that at lower RPMs, it does need a lot more throttle input, especially if you're on some kind of an incline like we are here now. But get it past 3 or 4,000 RPM and the engine really does come alive. But again, it is quite loud, and that does tend to annoy people a little. However, clutch and transmission packages are fantastic, and although the clutch isn't as light as a Maruti or a Hyundai, and it never will be, the transmission and the gearbox especially really does give you great feedback. It slots in really well and feels really confidence inspiring. In fact, it makes you want to drive that little bit faster. The Ameo also gets first-in-class features like cruise control, rain-sensing wipers, and an anti-pinch setup on all 4 windows. In terms of chassis setup, the Volkswagen Ameo is really in a class of its own. I mean, it is definitely the stiffest in its segment, but Volkswagens have always been catered to people who prefer handling over ride comfort. Now, this does mean that maybe rear passengers might get thrown around just a little bit more than expected on rough roads, but you'll be surprised to know that the driver of the car will be happy that this chassis can take all that damage and can take all that punishment and still soldier on without much fuss. Now, we would have loved to see the 16-inch wheels that we saw on the Auto Expo show car, but sadly the 15s are all you get, and they're the same wheels that you get on the Polo as well. Now, in recent times, the Indian customer has finally realized that safety features are an important part of your car buying decision. Better late than never. But Volkswagen has jammed the Ameo pack with as many safety features as you can expect from a car of this price point. So you get ABS and airbags as standard on all variants, and that, Volkswagen, is a very good move. The Polo hatchback is a great car if you're a younger buyer and love to drive yourself, and the Vento is a great car if you're an older buyer and prefer luxury. The Ameo gives you all of those in a package at a great price, and you still get the Volkswagen badge and the sense of luxury. So, we think it looks quite nice, handles quite well, and has typically German great build quality. The only thing that's underwhelming about it is the 1.2-litre petrol engine. Would we still recommend one? Yes, we would, but we're really looking forward to drive the diesel version of the Ameo, and that's due about 2.5 to 3 months from now.